On stage, we're going to have Taimoor Khan. He's from Satterfield and Pontikes. He's also a legend on the BECTEC community. He's going to be talking about developing the next generation of pre-construction professionals. So please welcome Taimoor to the stage.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys can hear me fine. All right, so my name is Taimoor Khan. Some of you already know me, maybe just because I'm so involved with BEC technology. And I did a little presentation last year too, I believe. So we talked about today a lot about technologies and how we can utilize the data, how we can utilize, all these integrated takeoffs for 2D, 3D, and everything. But what we're missing right now is you can have the best technology in the world, but if you do not have the right people to use it, then what are you going to do with that technology? So I'm going to start with a little bit about myself, and I'm going to tell you a little bit story about myself so that you guys can relate to the topic that I want to present today. I've been in pre-construction for the last 18 plus years now. Work for a company out of Houston, Texas, Satterfield and Pontikes. And we do about close to $1 billion volume work, and we are general contractor, construction managers. We also have some subsidiaries, like we do self-perform concrete. We have a roller compacted concrete company. We do some finishes. We also have a wastewater management company and a little development side too. So how I came into pre-construction, before I ask you this question, how many of you chose pre-construction as your first career option when you were going to school? That was in your mind that I'm going to be in pre-construction or I want to be an estimator? Can anybody raise their hands that how many, and just give me an honest answer. This was your first choice of your career. I don't see a lot of hands. So maybe like 1 or 2% people, right? I can relate to that just because it was not my first career option. I did not even know what pre-construction is or estimator is. I wanted to be an aeronautical engineer, or what you call here as an aerospace engineer. And I remember I went to apply for it after the high school, and I got rejected because I was colorblind. So, and they said, you cannot become an aerospace or aeronautical engineer. So I said, okay, well, now what? So civil engineering. And in civil engineering, of course, I didn't have to really recognize the colors. I could still recognize the colors, but maybe I was just confused in some shades of the colors. So I did my bachelor's in civil engineering, and then when I finished my bachelor's, that time the IT was on a lot of boom, and like everybody's like, okay, you're not going to get a job in civil engineering, so you should move to IT. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do some stuff in computers, and I'm going to do a master's in computer science. I did some certifications in networking, and then I got admission in master's in computer science. In the first semester, I realized that probably I was making a mistake because computer science, you require a lot of coding, and I did not have that aptitude for coding. And my brain did not work with those algorithms. I said, oh, now what? I said, okay, maybe I need to go back to construction management, and I can keep the love for technology, and I can create some sort of a combination of construction and technology. So my first job, when I graduated, they hired me as a project engineer, and they told me that you're going to be doing a 65% project engineer job and 35% of managing our IT department. I said, okay, that seems like a good combination. And of course, when you're graduating, the first thing that you need is a job. You just want to start your career. So you don't argue with them, no, this is not what I want to do. You just want to try it. For about a year and a half, it almost became 99.9% IT work and really no project engineers work. That is when I talked to them. I said, you know what? I enjoy IT work, but this is not what my career path is, so I want to be moving more towards the construction side. So they said, okay, how about estimating? And I always heard that, and before I actually started my job, I always wanted to be a project manager because that's what seemed like a career option in construction management. And I heard that in order to be a good project manager, you need to have good estimating and scheduling skills. So I said, okay, well, maybe that's an opportunity for me to learn some estimating, and then I'm going to transition into project management. I started working with the guy who actually came from the field, and he was my boss. He taught me a lot of things about how these things are put together from construction standpoint, and we started building that department together. And in those days, OST, which is on-screen takeout program, was fairly new. So we brought in that program. Before that, we were using Digitizer. So I started getting familiar with the estimating process, with the takeoff, putting estimates together. And then I realized this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I mean, I do enjoy it, but not to the level where I have a lot of passion for it. There's something missing in there that I want to do. So as I was growing in my career and I switched some companies, went through some ups and downs, and starting growing as more of a conceptual estimator, this is where I started to enjoy estimating more because there was more creativity involved. And I started to recognize where my strengths were and what I really enjoyed doing and how I can make pre-construction more attractive for myself so that I can have passion for it. Because you know what, when you do not have passion for something you don't enjoy doing, it becomes stress. So I didn't want to get stressed, I wanted to have passion. And I wanted to be better at it, so what I enjoyed doing is not only being the creative part of it, but also how to deliver the information to the owners, how I can collaborate with the design teams and the owners and solve their problems. So this is what I enjoyed more. Then about 5-6 years ago, I was put into a leadership role, and I really enjoyed it. And then my passion for pre-construction and innovation also started to have another arm, which was leadership. And in the leadership, I thought just if somebody gives you a title that you become a leader, and basically some people are reporting to you and you are their leader. And I got to go through a year training program with my company for future leaders, and also got a chance to read some books on leadership. And one of the books that I read was 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell, which changed my perspective about leadership. Is that there's levels in leadership. And the first level was basically when people follow you because they don't have a choice, because you have the authority over them, and that's your position. And that's the level 1. So how you move to level 2 is basically how you can build relationships with your team members so they like you and they follow you just because they like you, not just because they are forced to do so. So that's the second level. And the third level is basically where you start building your credibility, because being nice is not enough. You gotta show some credibility that you are adding some value to the company and you have a vision that people will follow. So that's the third level of leadership. A lot of people stop at that level because the fourth level is where you start developing people. And it takes time beside your work to develop people and work with people. And of course, I wanted to grow to the level 4 too. And I wanted to help people grow from one level to the second level. And of course, the level 5 is the pinnacle level, which is the top level where your influence grows beyond the organization, and also you are developing more leaders, not only the people, but also more leaders who can develop more people and leaders. So the point is that based on my whole scenario of the passion that I grew from a pre-construction professional as starting as an estimator and having innovation and leadership, I saw the need for the future pre-construction professionals. Because when we start looking for people, younger generations, nobody's interested in estimating. I also teach, I forgot to tell you guys, that I also have passion for teaching. So I teach at University of Houston. And before that, I was also teaching when I was living in Michigan. So I asked my students, and I ask this question every time in my class, that how many of you would like to be an estimator? Nobody raised their hands. And I was surprised. It's like, so what do you want to be? Like project manager. Everybody wants to be a project manager. So if we do not have people that have interest in estimating, how are we going to have the next generation of pre-construction professionals? Because right now we have three groups of pre-construction professionals, right? One is basically probably getting close to their retirement. Second group is having probably the experience somewhere between 10 years to 20 years. And then we have some younger estimators that right now working in the industry. So with all the technology, if you look at it, the first group, which is almost close to retirement, they really don't like to deal with the technology. The second group, which is 10 years plus experience estimators, they like the combination of both estimating and technology. And then the third group, which is the younger generation, they like the technology more, but they are developing the interest in estimating. So how can we educate them to start thinking about a career in pre-construction? So the word estimator is very scary. And when I say scary, everybody thinks like somebody is just sitting in a corner and crunching numbers. And that's all they do. That's why they feel like this is so boring. Why would I do that? I don't have any impact on the project. I don't know if I'm adding any value to the project. Nobody's recognizing me. And honestly speaking, the word estimator is not really a very attractive word either. So a lot of students told me that it will also kill my prospects of dating. I said, how is that? I said, how do I introduce myself? If a girl asks me, what do I do? I say, I'm an estimator. How attractive is that? So I said, yeah, that's true. So what do we do about it, right? So we got to make it a little bit more sexier for you guys. So then I show them how the things are done in pre-construction. And once they see the whole process of how the pre-construction process is happening and all the technology that we're using and how we get involved with all the design team, the owner, and the decisions making and the whole value impact part, then they start getting interested in it. So I have seen a lot of interest from when I start the class, and by the end, when I'm done with my semester, there are like at least 6 or 7 students that want to go into pre-construction. So for again, all those people that are sitting here, you guys are pre-construction leaders, and it's a responsibility that you guys have to share too, that will help in developing the next generation of pre-construction professionals. So first of all, we have to understand what's the lack of interest. Some of the reasons I already told you about is that people don't find it very attractive. There's really no excitement that somebody will wake up in the middle of the night, I want to be an estimator. It's not going to be like that, right? So we have to make it very attractive for them in order for them to build a career in pre-construction. So the way I explain to them is that you are a project manager basically acting in the pre-construction phase of the project. It's the same thing. It's not just estimator. You have an opportunity to work not only in the scheduling, estimating, BIM VDC, data analytics, and all these things together along with your soft skills, because you have to communicate with the design team, you have to communicate with the owner, you have to communicate with the subcontractors. And the most value impact is in the pre-construction phase, because all the biggest financial decisions are made in the pre-construction phase of the project. you build relationships in pre-construction. You build trust with the design team, the owners, and the subcontractors in the pre-construction phase. Once it goes to construction, really don't have an exposure to the owner or design team or even the subcontractors that you work with is usually the crew that is on the site. So you don't really get to build those relationships. So I teach them soft skills along with the technical side of the things. So how we prepare the next generation of pre-construction professionals is we need to stay engaged with either the universities and maybe sometime go there and kind of highlight how you're doing things in the pre-construction so they get an exposure. Nobody has an exposure. And the stuff that they teach them, it's outdated. They're still just showing them how to do takeoffs. How does that create an excitement to build a career in pre-construction? It doesn't. So somehow we have to not only engage with the universities, but also maybe with their professors and see if we can go and deliver some lectures there so we can not only educate the students, but also the professors. They need to update their material that they're teaching these younger people. So beside us, also I would encourage software companies like Beck Technology, Join, Toggle, if they can come up with some ways to provide student versions of those software so they can start playing with it and they will start creating that excitement to build a career in pre-construction. So just to give you that was a big picture of what I wanted to highlight is that there's a strong need and we need to start act on it now. Otherwise, we will not probably be able to find people that will actually do any pre-construction work. Because anybody that we find now is the people either they didn't find a job in any other side of construction, so that's why they're estimators. So all of us have a story, right? So most of us are basically accidental estimators, and then we started developing a career because we didn't really have a choice. But I don't want that for our younger generation because they are more smarter and they want to make decisions based on what they really want to do, not because that's what they have to do. So, so that was a little bit of a summary about what I was mentioning about how to develop the next generation of pre-construction professional. If you guys have any questions. I didn't go through the slides because I know the clicker is not working, but I just wanted to convey the message. So as a leader in pre-construction, it's not only my responsibility, it's everybody's responsibility. So please look for opportunities either by, engaging those interns. One of the things that I have noticed is that when the companies bring these interns or the students to give them an exposure, what happens in estimating, somehow they show them the bid day. And I don't know why they try to attract people with the bid day, because bid day is it seems like a stock market, the trades are going in and that does not really attract anybody. So please do not bring students to show them the bid days. That's not really the way to attract people in pre-construction. So, yes.
What should we call the title if it's not estimator? What do you think it should be?
So I was thinking we should come up with some titles like a cost engineer, a cost analyst, or a pre-construction engineer, or then this should basically proceed as a pre-construction manager. We already know that there is basically a pre-construction manager title, but I believe that will be more attractive to 100%. A lot of people than just being as an estimator. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What are some of the methods you used in teaching the soft skills?
So 3 aspects of it that I usually focus on is, one is the habits, second is the emotional intelligence, and the third one that I usually focus on is the communication. I also like to focus on leadership, but usually just because they're pretty young on that age, I don't know if they will really grasp the leadership part, but I try to cover it a little bit. We, and most of you who works for different organizations, now you guys have noticed that your HR has a little bit of a process when they try to hire somebody, they send them a questionnaire to learn about their personalities. And basically, it's just to find out if they will fit in a culture or not, if they have the soft skills or not. But guess what? All these years in schools, everybody teaches them logic and facts. Nobody teaches them the soft skills. And we all know the 70% of the decisions that we make are based on our emotions. So if you do not have emotional intelligence, you're not going to be making the right decisions. So I give them a little bit of an exposure to what emotional intelligence is and how they can harness into their emotions and make the right decisions. And instead of reacting in the wrong way, how they can utilize them to their strengths. So the companies expect these younger generation to already have this confidence, soft skills, communication skills, but who's going to teach them? Nobody's teaching them. At universities, at least, I don't know if they have a soft skills class or those type of topics are covered in their classes. So I tried to help them at least get ready for the professional life with those soft skills too, because those are more important than actually the technical skills. Technical skills, there are a lot of people that are going to teach them, but the soft skills, which are very important for you to grow in your career, nobody teach them, but everybody expect them to have. There are certain books that I actually wrote. I read some of those books too, but I tried to make it a little bit more easier for them because some of them get into too much detail, but I tried to cover the basics of emotional intelligence and how you can harness into the emotions and understand what you're feeling and how you are going to utilize them in your benefit, not basically against you. So there are different books that basically I would say that they can read. One of the challenges that I always had with myself is that I was not a good reader, and I started to develop that reading habit. And actually moving to Texas, it got better because I spent about an hour in driving one way. So I just listened to the audiobooks. That helps me a lot. And I encourage the students to start reading books other than the textbooks. And when I was a student, I never read any book other than the textbook. So I tried to encourage them to start reading books because that will really help them, learn about more. And then there's a lot of books on emotional intelligence. You just got to pick one or two and then start getting the idea. One of the challenges that I have with HR is, I don't hate HR, but I just disagree with them. So the question is that she's wanting to know that how can we help HR to hire the right people. Hiring people I don't think it's HR's job. HR is basically helping you filter the right candidates, but it's the responsibility of the leaders basically to hire the right people. And of course, the right reason is the important part when you hire somebody. So if you're not hiring people for the right reasons, then you're not gonna get the right people. And everybody's different, right? A lot of times people just hire people based on their experience that is shown on their resume. I always look for the potential and the abilities or capabilities in the person or the passion that I see in that person when I hire people. Because I know that the rest of the things can get done if they have the passion and the desire. But if you do not have the right attitude and the passion, then you will always struggle, no matter how much experience you have. So we don't want to bombard all these young people with the tools. The first thing that they have to understand is identifying what do they enjoy, what their strengths are, and then also really why do we use these tools? Because technology is your friend if you know what you are going to use it for. If you are not really clear on what you are going to use it for, then it becomes your enemy, because now then you are overwhelmed with too much technology. Like for example, this semester, I tried to do something different in my class, and I teach a class which is basically the advanced level construction management class. And after a semester or so, most of them will be graduating. And really, they're still not clear about what they want to do after they graduate. So what I started to do is that I started bringing in a professional from my company in each department. One guy came from our BIM VDC, so that he can talk about what is a day in his life looks like as a BIM VDC engineer, and what is the career path in BIM VDC. So they can get an idea, if they have an interest in that one, how they can build a career in that. Then I also had a project manager who came to speak to my class, and they explained their day, and that way they can understand actually what a project manager does, and if it's really, this is what you wanted to do, or maybe not, And same thing with, I will have a scheduler coming into my class. Of course, I gave them an exposure to the pre-construction already because I work in pre-construction. And also a quality manager. So there's so many different opportunities within construction management. You really don't have to be just a project manager. You can be a pre-construction manager. You can grow into a director of pre-construction. You can grow into a project executive. You can even grow into a CEO of the company. So there is really no limit. The challenge with them is that they don't see the career opportunities going into pre-construction. It's more clear to them that if I want to grow in construction, project management is the way to go, because I get recognized more as a project manager. So we as pre-construction professionals, I know we don't get recognized as much as the project managers do. So a lot of these companies need to start changing their strategies, because pre-construction is evolving, and it has more impact on the project than actually the construction itself. We build the project actually before even it gets on the ground through all these different technologies. And we have a much more clarity before they even go to construction. So the projects are getting more and more successful now because we have much more clarity in the pre-construction phase. Then it goes to the construction, and they don't have any idea about it. So better planning improves your execution as well. So I think if you guys have any other questions, if not, then thank you very much. And I appreciate everybody listening to me. And again, this is an important and critical issue that we do not recognize right now, but in next 5 to 10 years, we will have really big challenges. And some of you probably will be looking for people to add to your team, and you're not going to be able to find them because nobody started that homework. So please stay engaged with any institutions that you are in the area. Even I would say that Advancing Pre-Construction Conference and Precon World, they should actually pick some students every year, bring them in, so they get an exposure too. So it's a collective responsibility for all of us that we can help all these younger generations to get them prepared for the next pre-construction professional. Thank you very much.